Layer opacity and blending. Layer opacity and blending. A layer's blending mode determines how its pixels blend with underlying pixels in the image, and you can create a variety of special effects using blending modes, by the way. And how to specify overall and fill opacity for selected layers. A layer's, by the way, overall opacity determines to what degree it obscures or reveals to the layer beneath it. And a layer with 1% opacity appears nearly transparent, and whereas one with 100% opacity appears completely opaque. And in addition to overall opacity, which affects layer styles and blending modes applied to a layer, and you can specify fill opacity, and fill opacity affects only pixels and shapes or text on a layer without affecting the opacity of layer effects such as drop shadows. Note and be careful please here now. You can't change the opacity of a background layer or a logged layer, by the way, to convert a background layer into a regular layer that supports transparency and and see convert background and Photoshop layers. And number one, in the layers panel, select one or more layers or groups. And number two, change the opacity and fill values. And if you selected a group, only opacity is available. And to view all blending options, choose blending options from the Add a Layer style icon and at the bottom of the layers panel. And how to specify a blending mode for a layer or group. By default, the blending mode of a layer group is pass through, which means that the group has no blending properties, by the way, of its own. And when you choose different blending mode for a group, you effectively change the order in which the image components are put together, and all of the layers in the group are put together first, and the composite group is then treated as a single image and blended with the rest of the image using the selected blending mode. And thus, if you choose a blending mode other than pass through for the group, none of the adjustment layers or layer blending modes inside the group will apply to layers outside the group. Note and be careful please here now. There is no clear blending mode, by the way, for layers, and for lab images the color touch, color burn and darken and lighten and difference and exclusion and subtract and divide mode are unavailable, by the way, for HDR images. Take care please. Okay, so number one, select a layer or group from the layers panel. And number two, choose a blending mode, and from the layers panel choose an option from the blend mode pop-up menu. And then choose layer, then choose layer style, and the blending options, by the way, and then choose an option from the blend mode pop-up menu. And not here again, please, not here again, and take care and be careful again. Second time, in the blend mode pop-up menu, scroll over different options to see how they look on your image, and Photoshop displays a live preview of blend modes on the canvas. What about group blend effects? Group blend effects, by default, layers in a clipping mask are blended with the underlying layers using the blending mode of the bottommost layer in the group. However, you can choose to have the blending mode of the bottommost layer apply only to that layer, and allowing you to preserve the original blending appearance of the clipped layers. And you can also apply the blending mode of a layer to layer effects that modify opaque pixels, and such as inner glow or color overlay, and without changing layer effects, by the way, that modify only transparent pixels such as outer glow or drop shadow. And you should select the layer that you want to affect, and then double click a layer thumbnail, then choose blending options from the layers panel menu, or choose layer, then choose layer style, then choose blending options. Note and be careful please again. To view blending options for a text layer, choose layer, then choose layer style, then you have to choose blending options, or choose blending options from the Add a Layer style button at the bottom of the layer panel menu. Number 3, specify the scope of blending options. How to specify the scope of blending options? You should select Select blend interior effects as group to apply the blending mode of the layer to layer effects that modify opaque pixels such as inner glow or satin or color overlay and gradient overlay. Then select blend clipped layers as group to apply the blending mode of the base layer to all layers in the clipping mask. So deselecting this option, and which is always selected by default and maintains the original blending mode and appearance of each layer in the group, like this screenshot now. Advanced blending options, and select transparency chips layers to restrict layer effects and non-cut to opaque areas of the layer, and deselecting the option, and which is always selected by default by the way, applies these effects throughout the layer. And then select layer mask hides effects to restrict layer effects to the area defined by the layer mask. Then select vector mask hides effects to restrict layer effects to the area defined by the vector mask. Then click OK. How to exclude channels? How to exclude channels from blending? You can restrict blending effects to a specified channel when you blend a layer, a group, or group by default, and all channels are included by the way. And when using an RGB image, for example, you can choose to exclude the arrayed channel from blending, and in the composite image only the information in the green and blue channels is affected. And you should do the following: double click a layer thumbnail, then choose layer, then choose layer style, then choose blending options. Then choose blending options from the Add a Layer Style icon and at the bottom of the Layers panel. Note and be careful again. To view blending options for a text layer, choose layer, then choose layer style, then you have to choose blending options, or choose blending options from the Add a Layer Style button at the bottom of the Layers panel menu. Number 2. From the advanced blending area of the layer style dialog box, deselect any channels and you don't want to include when the layer is blended. Specify a tonal range for blending layers. How to specify a tonal range for blending layers? The sliders, by the way, in the blending options dialog box control which pixels from the active layer and the underlying visible layers appear in the final image. For example, you can drop, you can drop dark pixels out of the active layer or force bright pixels from the underlying layers to show through. And you can also define a range of partially blended pixels to produce a smooth transition between blended and unblended areas. And we have steps. Step number 1: double click a layer thumbnail, then choose layer, then choose layer style, then choose blending options, then choose add a layer style and blending options from the layers panel menu. Note and be careful here please now again. To view blending options for a text layer, choose layer, then you have to choose layer style, then blending options, or choose blending options from the Add a Layer Style button at the bottom of the layers panel menu. Number 2, in the advanced blending area of the layer style dialog box, choose an option from the blend if pop-up menu. Choose gray to specify a blending range for all channels. Then select an individual color channel, for example red and green or blue in RGB image, to specify blending in that channel. Number 3, use this layer and underlying layer sliders to set the brightness range of the blended pixels and measured on a scale from 0 black to 255 white, and drag the white slider to set the high value of the range, drag the black slider to set the low value of the range. To define a range of partially blended pixels, hold down and Alt if you use Windows, or Option if you use macOS, and drag one half of a slider triangle, and the two values that appears above the divided slider indicate the partial blending range. And keep the following Keep the following guidelines in mind when specifying blending ranges. Use these layer sliders to specify the range of pixels on the active layer that will blend and therefore appear in the final image. For example, if you drag the white slider to 235 pixels with brightness values higher than 235 will remain unblended and will be excluded from the final image, by the way. And you have to use the underlying layers slider to specify the range of pixels in the underlying visible layers that will blend in the final image, and the blended pixels are combined with pixels in the active layer to produce composite pixels, and where is enabled, pixel show through overlying areas of the active layer, by the way. For example, if you drag the black slider to 19 pixels with brightness values lower than 19 will remain unblended and will show through the active layer in the final image. So what about if you would like to fill new layers with a natural color? If you'd like to fill new layers with natural colors, you can't apply, by the way, certain filters such as the lighting effects filter and two layers with no pixels and selecting fill with mode natural color in the new layer dialog box, and resolves this problem by first filling the layer with a preset and natural color is invisible. Natural color is assigned according to the layer's blending mode, and if no effect is applied, filling with a natural color has no effect, by the way, on the remaining layers, and the fill with natural color option is not available for layers and that use the normal dissolve and hard mix and use saturation, color or luminosity modes.